Hi everyone, I came out to my yard 2 days ago to check my pots and I found some quite interesting results in them, so I wanted to show you so you could get an idea of what all the differences that can go in your pots. So this pot here is really nicely protected by this tree, which normally for growing things wouldn't be very good because it would be too shaded unless you were growing shady trees. Now have a look in there. This was a lot wetter. There's a little lizard getting out. This was a lot wetter 2 days ago, but you can see how mushy that looks in there. That's how ideally you want them to look. Well, let's see if we can get a bit closer. There, that's better. So see how wet that looks? That's how you want your pots to look, because if it's too dry, nothing can break it down, and this will eventually turn into beautiful soil. And 2 days ago I saw some soldier fly larvae in here that were getting ready to pupate, so that is actually perfect, and it will just turn into soil a lot quicker, and there's literally hardly any smell at that point either, even though I've gone and disturbed it. So it's got a little way to go to turn into beautiful soil. I could easily top that up right now, no problem at all. But I'll go show you these other ones first. Here is pot number 4, and yesterday I picked up all these bones out of the garden as I was clearing out that scurvy weed from this part of the yard. And last night apparently it rained heaps. I didn't hear it, but this is what the contents will look like. Well, this is what it can look like as well, and this is almost fully turned to soil. So see that corn cob's still got a little way to go, but easy to break up. And see how nice and friable that soil is getting. So that's on its way to turning into beautiful soil without any effort from me. Well, this is pot number 3 in the backyard. Oh, look at that. This one has clearly been left long enough to be all fully soil. I know that's been left too long because I can feel some little roots growing in there, which doesn't matter, they're easy to break out or break up. But if I dug this soil out a bit sooner, then the roots wouldn't be coming into the pot looking for that nutrients. But that's turning into beautiful soil, as you can see. Or it's pretty much turned into beautiful soil. I'll just give it a twist in the ground, break those roots. There we go. And that'll make that really easy to dig out now. See that? There's a big mass of roots that had grown in there. But I'm not going to empty it now at the moment because I've got nothing to fill it up with at present. And pot number 2. Interesting, you can see some little roots growing in here as well. This was super dry when I looked the other day. I don't know what that is, some bit of paper I've had in there. There's a chicken thing. It's still a bit full. It's absorbed all the water from the rain last night. And this one is pretty much all decomposed as well. Whereas the other day, it was looking quite dry. And today, well, you could tip that out on the ground now as well. And those little roots won't turn into anything really once they go out on the soil. And this is pot number 1. You can see the difference, how this looks wet now, or wetter, but 2 days ago this looked completely dried out, which of course if it's dried out it just will take a really long time to break down. To me, I can tell it's dry because I've been doing this for so long, but you may not be able to tell that easily on the video. Those corn cobs are ready to be broken down. And another thing, when it's really dry, it takes a long time for paper and paper towel. I use a lot of greaseproof paper, so greaseproof paper and paper towel, if it's not wet enough, that will take a long time to break down. But keep it nice and moist, so when you're watering your garden, if you water your pots as well, that can only be a good thing. And if it looks nice and wet and mushy, that's perfect. It will break down quicker and turn into beautiful soil a lot quicker. I'm going to show you 2 out in the yard, and hopefully I'll be able to show you the difference with them. it may not be as easy to show you these two because the sun has decided to come out, and it was just such a nice overcast day. It was actually bearable out here today. But the last few days we've had shocking hot weather, and they're predicting another heat wave. So when that happens, you need to make sure you cover your pots really well with your grass clippings. See how this is exposed now? You need to cover that with grass clippings, otherwise the hot air gets in here and it dries everything out. I'll see if I can show you. Now, see that? Now, even with all that rain we had last night, this is still very dry. And it's going to take a long time for that to break down because it's just too dry. And the other thing I've noticed with this heat we're having, that the soldier flies are few and far between. So I think with the weather as hot as it is, if you can put your pots in the shade somewhere in the garden, if they're already in the shade in the garden, I think you'll get a lot better result than these two pots which I've got out in the sun, and then in the sun all day every day. So I'll cover this up this way now, and I'll get some more grass clippings to cover that to keep all this hot air out, and I might water it as well because to me that pot's just too dry. If I leave it long enough it'll still break down, but I want it to be quicker than that. And here's the other one, and see how that is dried out in the sun. If you leave it out in the sun, once it's been inside your pot and you dry it out, throw that in the bin now. And you can see how the weeds love growing around my pots because they're so nutritious. I didn't pull these out last time, I just left them. In fact, I might use them to cover this one up. They were actually quite hard to pull out last time because the soil was really dry. Now, after that rain last night, they're easy to pull out. I can't get that one, it's a bit too deep. Okay, let's have a look at this one. Same thing, very dry. These are banana skins, see that? They're mushy, but they're still, it's a little bit moist under there, and again that would be from the rain we had last night. So it penetrated into this pot a bit better than it did the one beside it. And it is nice and wet at the moment, but that will dry out really quickly if I don't cover this pot with some grass clippings. And the other thing that I have found, when you do it above ground like this, and these two pots are in the sun all day, every day, I don't move them just to see what happens. I actually think in this climate at the moment in Queensland, it's just too hot and you need to move them into the shade so they've got a better chance of breaking down. Even in this pot, which you would think was fairly well insulated, I still think it's too hot. But anyway, try it and see what happens in your garden. And I'm going to go and show you the other pot that I checked the other week that had the worms in it. Now, this is the one I showed you with the worms. That has got full of water again from being in the rain last night. You can see the grass clippings around the side have really dropped, or the weeds I should say, have really dropped down around there now. And this is really moist in the lid, see that? Nice and moist. Now this one's in the shade some of the day, not all day. Oh, look at the worms in here. So the worms are quite enjoying this now, which is why I didn't top it up the other week, because it had, oh, look at them. So it was so full of worms, I didn't want to disturb them or kill them by putting fermented waste on them. So that's something to consider. But again, it depends how you use your pots. I usually don't have time to worry about worms, and my pots are usually getting filled up too regularly to even get the worms to a point where they'll breed up, but they will breed up in the soil outside your pots. That's really lovely to see though. Now I imagine, because there's so many in there where the waste is, and look, that's got bones in there and everything, but the bones have already been cleaned up. So they're not going to kill the worms at this point. Let's have a look and see what's around the outside. Around the outside, round the outside. Nothing there really. They might have all gone back. They might have all gone back down into the soil, of course, or inside the pot. Yeah, nothing really there, but isn't that breaking down beautifully? Let's dig right, oh, I can feel right down the bottom here. And let's have a look. So see how nice and wet that is down the bottom? That's beautiful. It makes it really easy for all the bugs to break it down. There's a little worm in there too, see? A couple of worms. This is my favourite method if you don't have a lot of space and you want to get rid of a lot of weeds as well and you can't bend down. This is just such a brilliant method. And you know, you can use other things. I could probably use a bucket in there, but you can't cover the lid the same way, so it doesn't have the same result. But give it a go if that's what works for you. Keep doing it. While we're here, let's have a look. So this pot just had weed waste in it, covered in grass clippings. It's been sitting here for a while now, and it was full. And look at that beautiful soil it's turning into. See the big worms there? And I haven't done anything. I just filled it up with my weed waste, covered it with some grass clippings, and plonked it in the garden. And this one has been in a semi-shady spot. It gets some sun in the morning, but not much in the afternoon. That root's obviously what was in here that I was trying to get rid of, and that's one of the plants that's tried to grow from it, I think. Or it's tried to grow from some weed I've had in here. But still nothing. Not a bad result at all. Not a bad result at all. Don't even have to tip that on your garden. Just keep topping it up, move it around the garden. Easy, easy composting. Thanks for watching.